we had an informal European Council meeting that basically dealt with foreign policy issues, climate and COVID. That was on the agenda. But due to yesterday's events, we discussed yesterday night the unprecedented forced landing of the Ryanair plane in Minsk. We discussed this at great length. We all said that this literally is an unprecedented act. It is absolutely unacceptable what the authorities of Belarus did there. Through this forced landing, the passengers were placed in danger, and the arrest of the journalist Raman Pratasevich and his partner Sofia Sapega is something that we utterly condemn. We called upon Belarus to release both persons immediately. We have the opinion that the International Civil Aviation Organization urgently needs to investigate this incident, and we also called upon the Foreign Ministers Council to place further persons and organizations on the sanctions list. You know that there are already quite a number of persons, also President Lukashenko on this list, and to also decide further targeted economic sanctions and to ban overflights over EU airspace by the airline of Belarus. And we also called upon European airlines to avoid Belarusian airspace, as Lufthansa has already announced. Then we had a very intense debate and a very exhaustive debate on Russia. This, in many ways, paved the way to the Council meeting in June. Until we meet again in June, the Commission and the European External Action Service will table a report on outlining the different options for action that we will then take with regard to Russia. And we were in agreement that we want to react and need to react together and in a coordinated fashion to the Russian measures, and that it's also necessary to develop an idea, a vision for us Europeans, how we wish to shape this relationship towards Russia in the future. The Commission, as I said, will table a report on that. That will be a very important basis for the discussion in June. We also talked about our relations with the United Kingdom and also obviously on the situation in the Middle East. And we talked about the EU-US summit, preparing it, that will take place on the 15th of June. And due to the current events in Mali, we also included that in the conclusions based on our following suit what ECOWAS and the African Union will decide. We also, I think, decided very quickly. The discussion on Belarus was a very constructive one. Also, the discussion on Russia was a very constructive one, and that in many ways was the spirit in which we held our council. Then this morning we discussed first COVID-19 and our reaction to it. We then, all of us, welcomed the fact that there was agreement on the vaccination certificate. We thank the Portuguese presidency for its efforts to this effect. Now we have to implement this. We're also working on this nationally, but at least we have now a legal basis for this EU digital COVID certificate, and that's important. We also address the issue of virus variants. We placed this on the agenda. I personally did so. And we know that we have to react to this more quickly in the future. So it was a very good thing that last week already the Council was able to agree on a mechanism to react as quickly and cohesively and consistently as possible on the emergence of new variants. We then also discussed the distribution of vaccines, dealt with the European and the global situation. We know that in order to get this pandemic under control globally, each and everyone must have access to vaccines. Europe is a very good example, we think, because the European Union exports vaccines to a fairly large extent, vaccines that are produced on our continent. They go to third countries, but that is obviously not sufficient, which is why we outlined the initiative of Italy with the Global Health Summit being of tremendous importance in this respect. At least 100 million doses will be given to this effort by the end of this year from a European contingent. Already in this conference, the summit in Rome, I said that Germany will supply 30 million doses to this effect. We then dealt with climate protection. Ursula von der Leyen included in this briefed us on the current state of play as regards the Fit for 55 initiative and explained the whole dimension of what we can expect by June. We then had a sort of discussion to get some orientation, some idea. Obviously not, we were not able to decide in any detailed manner because we as yet do not have the proposals that the Commission will table in June. But we said very clearly all of the member states had the opportunity to say what they expect by way of proposals from the Commission, and then we will very quickly resort to negotiations then under the Slovenian presidency. So it was indeed, we were very busy. It was a very busy schedule. It was, as I said, an extraordinary summit, but I think it was a very constructive atmosphere in which we were able to debate these